Okay, so today we are talking about life insurance. So if I already have life insurance, why do I need an estate plan? So first, my name is Krista Hermans. I'm an estate planning attorney. Our firm is Hermans Law, where we are estate planning mom and estate planning dad. And our focus is on planning for families with minor children and making sure parents know how to protect their kids. We don't only do planning for families with minor kids. We have all ages, all different asset levels of families that we work with. If at any point you have a question, please make sure to either put that in the chat or the questions and answers, and I will see if I can get to it during the middle of the webinar. I am trying to stay to 30 minutes to have you guys done in the time that I had said it was going to take, so I'm going to be mindful of your time. And if I don't get to the questions during the middle, I will try and get to them at the end. Okay, these are wonderful attorneys that we have at our firm. Our amazing team. We are a very family-oriented practice and just making sure that we really do strive for that balance between work and family life. And we have offices in Ventura, Santa Clarita, Irvine, Westlake Village, Calabasas, Pasadena, and virtually throughout the state of California. We can help anybody in California. Real quick,
I'm going to switch mics just to make sure you guys can hear me a little bit better. Hopefully that helps, makes it a little bit clearer for you. Okay, so let's get into it. First one I have is a question for you. And it's actually going to be just, I have the questions on the same poll, so you can just answer them at the same time. The first question is, one, do you have life insurance? And the second question is, do you know who your beneficiaries are on your life insurance? So I'm going to launch that right now. And I'd like to kind of just have an idea of, people that are on here, since we're talking about life insurance and estate planning, do you have life insurance? And if you do have life insurance, who are your beneficiaries on your life insurance? Okay, we'll give it about 10 more seconds. Okay. Perfect. I'm going to go ahead and end that. So it looks like everybody that participated has life insurance, which is amazing. And most people absolutely know who their beneficiaries are, which is also amazing. I generally don't see that in estate planning where people know exactly who they have listed. We do have some other ideas on there about knowing who your beneficiaries are, which is fine, right? This is why you're here today. Okay, so when you have life insurance and you have beneficiaries on your life insurance policies, you need to make sure that you are checking your beneficiary designations frequently. And so I like to say do it on an annual basis, right? Just to kind of check in. So I recommend that you pick the same time every year, that this is like just part of your routine, part of your habit. It's like, February 1st hit and tax season starts for us to start getting our stuff together for our accountants and things like that. And so I like, when you look at beneficiary designations, to pick something that you would then find that would be similar, that it would cause you to go log into the system to be able to look. So another really great one is enrollment season for health benefits or, and company benefits. A lot of times life insurance is offered through employers. And so I find that during that enrollment period, when you're going on and kind of looking at the options, it's easy to go and just kind of continue with that process, look at who the beneficiaries are, make any updates as needed. And then if you have other life insurance policies outside of work, that's a whole nother discussion if you want to talk about that. But then it's making sure that those are getting checked as well. Okay. Other things where beneficiaries could come up. So major life changes that you have, if there's a death or an illness in your family, if it's a spouse or one of your beneficiaries that passes away, if there's been a divorce, and I have seen, and uptick in the divorces that we've been assisting with from the estate planning side, as well as when somebody passes away that's been divorced, and some things that probably they would have not wanted to happen that happened because beneficiary information wasn't updated. The other thing is the birth of a child. You want to make sure that if there are any changes to beneficiary designations because of birth, that you are updating how you want to. Okay. Again, if you're just joining us, please feel free to put any questions or answers in the chat, and I will try to get to those. Okay, so to give you an idea of how life insurance benefits are distributed, I wanted to kind of give you some different scenarios so that you had an idea how logistically how it works. Because I think sometimes people don't really like the big thing is, oh, I need to get life insurance. I want to make sure that my family's protected, but then it's not really kind of thinking through what would actually happen if that benefit came about. So when someone passes away, and they have this life insurance policy where there is this death benefit. The death benefit is passed pursuant to the beneficiary designation. We call this by operation of law, right? It doesn't have to go through probate court. It doesn't have to go through a trust. If there's an individual, right? The first one is an individual. If there is an individual that's listed there, it just goes to that individual. Okay. It doesn't have to go through other things to be able to get to that person. Where other things come up, and I'll talk about this a little bit later, is maybe the age of the individual, if it's an adult, or if it's a minor, right? That may be one of the issues. If it has to pass pursuant to a will, and where I see this come up is it happens when somebody has a life insurance policy and there is nobody listed, right? It kind of plays into this one, and then the last one I'm going to talk about. And so the life insurance company may say that it needs to pass pursuant to who their heirs are, right? So who's like next of kin is one of the common terms that I see. And so, it depends on who the life insurance company is on how they're going to distribute. Does it have to go as part of probate, depending on the size of the life insurance policy, to be able to be distributed according to who the heirs are, or who the beneficiaries in the will are? And so, is there language in the will that talks about life insurance policies? I've seen that before. The other is a trust. And this one is very common for what we do from an estate planning side is, especially planning for families with young kids, is that when somebody passes away and they have the trust listed as the beneficiary, then the benefits are distributed to the trust, and the executor or successor trustee then follows the terms of the trust to distribute the life insurance policy according to how the terms in the trust state, whether if there's minor kids, it can go into the trust to be held while they're minors, to be there for health, education, maintenance, and support for the kids, and then maybe distributed at a quarter when they turn 25, half when they turn 30, and the other half when they turn 35, right? So there's different ways to do it in a trust, but that is one of the other ways that the beneficiary designation can be. And then going back to if there's nobody listed, it plays in again with that will part is who is the next person that if there was that is in line, right? So if they were married, if there's kids, if there's no kids, their parents, their siblings. And so it goes according to what we call in California intestate law, right? So it's basically who are your heirs at law that things would pass to. And so I have had this come up in cases. I've also had it come up where somebody is listed as a beneficiary and they have passed away. And so now it's the family of the deceased beneficiary that is trying to get the money for the benefit because their family member was supposed to receive it, right? And so that's why it's so important to make sure that you are updating these beneficiary designations and just checking them on an annual basis, okay? Okay, so if you have life insurance though, why do you need an estate plan? I get this question sometimes, mostly on social media from people. It's like, oh, I have these plans in place for my family with life insurance. Why do I need anything else? So that's what I'm going to go through today. So what if your life insurance beneficiary is a minor child? So I'm licensed in the state of California. So, anything that I'm talking about is specific to California. However, I will say that it is kind of general for a lot of states. It's always best to work with an attorney if you are in a different state to understand what their laws are. So a minor in the state of California is under 18 years old. That is what the age of being a minority is. So in the state of California, minor children cannot inherit money themselves. And so what I see, and I've seen cases where this comes up, where parents list their kids as beneficiaries on their life insurance policy and don't really understand that if something actually happened, how would the kids get the money? Because minor children cannot inherit that money. And a lot of times I find that people just don't understand that when they are listing minor kids. Like, the money's going to have to go to them some way, but it's probably not the way that they would intend. And so what happens is if you have a minor child listed as on a life insurance policy as a beneficiary, and they were to receive that money, well, the life insurance company is not likely going to release the money to the child or to the parent, right? Or to the guardian of that person until they have a court order. And so that would mean that that child, and this is where I've seen it happen, is maybe it's like a divorced family, and mom has custody of the son, and mom and dad are divorced. Dad passes away, but he has a son listed as the beneficiary in his life insurance policy. And so now, in order for mom to be able to get the money for the benefit of the son, she has to go through probate court to get guardianship of the property for the son. And the insurance company will not release the life insurance proceeds to mom until she is able to get this guardianship completed. And if you know anything about California courts, it takes a long time. So it's not this quick process. So if mom needs money to care for son because she's used to getting money from dad and she's no longer getting this, she might have a really hard time, because it's going to take her having to go through this guardianship process to be able to actually get the funds. And so guardianship, the probate process, it costs money. It costs a lot of money to have to go through. It takes time, like I said, and everything is a public record. Okay. And so the example I gave is the divorce is, this comes up a lot, where there are divorced families, and, of course, the other parent, they list the kids because they want the kids to receive the money. But there's other ways to do it so that it doesn't have to go through the court system to be able to get to the kids, which maybe even is going to provide more protections, doing it other ways. And if you look at the bottom of the slide, I'm going to give you a hint. It can be avoided with a trust. Okay. And we'll get to that. The other thing that's really kind of scary about it that I don't think people understand is that if a minor child were to inherit money, and, I see some life insurance policies, parents have life insurance policies of $1 million, $2 million. And if that child gets that life insurance policy, it goes through court, and then they get all of it when they turn 18 years old. If there's $1 million life insurance policy or $2 million, can you imagine what an 18-year-old would do with that money? They're probably not financially mature enough to understand and to do the things that they need to do to make sure that money is going to stay protected for them. Okay. Okay. So what if your life insurance beneficiary is an adult? Well, there's a few different things to think of it when it comes from an adult perspective, because again, so if this is anybody over the age of 18, if you have adult children and you want them to receive, or even a spouse, you want them to receive, these are all kind of things to take into consideration. Well, what if one of the beneficiaries that's an adult has a special need, right? If they are on government assistance or getting government benefits for that special need, well, getting any type of inheritance like a life insurance policy could prevent them from continuing to get those government benefits. So you could lose their benefits because they're getting this large lump sum of money. Okay. The other thing to take into consideration is what we call a lifestyle disability. And so this is maybe somebody that has, an alcohol problem or a drug addiction or a gambling problem, something that is, from a lifestyle perspective, it may not be the best option to give this person a large sum of money. And having a life insurance policy payout could potentially give them a very large sum of money that could cause them more harm. Giving money to an addict so that they can, have a ton of money to do anything that's going to put them in harm's way. Okay. Another consideration is, again, if you have an adult that's receiving the money, would you be okay with them receiving it and potentially commingling those funds with their spouse, right? So then it's community property. Because then if there is a divorce, then that spouse could get half, right? California's community property state, and it could be hard to trace that money back. Another is if there's creditors, right? So if they are in lawsuits and they get a large lump sum, they put that money in their checking account, and then they have these creditors that they're in court for, and then it gets attached to their account, and then the money's getting taken out. It just kind of opens it up for that. And the other is predators, right? We see it happen a lot more with, anybody that, if they have money and somebody wants that money, it's, kind of getting in good with them, being their friend, being their companion, showing that support that they need and gaining that trust, right? You see all of these movies where things like this happen, but it actually does happen, especially with our elder population, right? Where they're a little bit more susceptible to this. And so it's always those kind of things that you want to take into consideration. Again, this is another hint for you. These can be avoided by having a trust, right? Having any of these issues come up where you have a trust, it could prevent this. Okay. So what if you don't have minor kids? Then that doesn't matter. And what if you're, you have adults and you're fine with them getting the money? You're not concerned about them commingling and with their spouse and, they're being divorced. I get it, right? Just super simple. I want it to go to my adult children. They can do what they want with it. So why do you need an estate plan then? Well, life insurance doesn't take the place of an estate plan. Okay. It's not like you have a life insurance policy or you have an estate plan. I like to think that a life insurance policy complements an estate plan, right? They work together in harmony to be able to provide the protections for your family that you want. So when we look at estate planning, I think of estate planning as kind of this umbrella, right? And within this umbrella, you have all of these documents, these legal documents that if you were unable to speak or unable to make decisions for yourself, or if you passed away, these are your wishes legally in writing. It's your voice, right? When you don't have a voice anymore. So we have power of attorney document, advanced healthcare directive, HIPAA authorization. We have wills, revocable living trust, and guardian nominations. So I'm going to go through a few of these for you so that gives you an idea. So when you're planning for incapacity, meaning you don't have the ability to make decisions on your behalf, right? You don't understand what's going on. You don't understand what could happen by making these decisions. You are incapacitated. Well, there is what we call a conservatorship that could be needed, right? And that's, for families that come to us that they don't have any of these documents, they don't have a power of attorney, they don't have an advanced health care directive, and a conservatorship is needed through the court where the judge decides who's going to be making these legal decisions. Again, takes time, costs money, public records. Okay. So a power of attorney, just real briefly, is basically just a legal document in which you give an agent the ability to make financial decisions on your behalf if you are unable to do so. So going to the bank, filing tax returns, paying bills, anything that they would need to step into your shoes to basically do these financial things on your behalf. The Advanced Healthcare Directive is very similar, but it's relating to healthcare decisions. So identifying an agent to be able to make those healthcare decisions on your behalf if you are unable to do so. It also allows you to have certain end of life decisions. So did you want burial? Did you want cremation? Did you want to do any type of organ donation for transplant purposes or medical research? Did you want prolonged life support with extreme measures? Or no, you want to be taken off life support. The Advanced Healthcare Directive is also known as a living will to a lot of people. In California, we call it an Advanced Healthcare Directive. So the revocable living trust is the one that we use the most for planning for our families. For any client that's coming in, it's one of the most common tools. And what is it? So it's basically just an agreement between the grantor, which is the creator of the trust, where they put specific instructions in writing to the trustee, which is the person who holds all of the title to all of the assets in the trust. And they do this for the benefit of the beneficiaries. So 3 kind of big terms I just threw at you: grantor, trustee, and beneficiary. So while you are alive and you have a revocable living trust, you are all 3 of these roles, right? You're creating it, so you're the grantor. You're the trustee, meaning you're in charge over all of the assets in your trust. And it's there for your benefit, right? It's all your stuff to be able to use. Generally, when you have a revocable living trust, there's no court interaction because all of the stuff is in the trust. The answers are there, so you don't need a judge making decisions for you. The biggest myth that I hear when it comes to trusts are that trusts are just for wealthy people, right? I'm not Bill Gates level, I don't need a trust. That's not true, right? And the examples I gave, having a life insurance policy that's going to minor kids, well, that can go into the trust to be distributed to the kids, right? Or if you own your house, right, and you still have a mortgage on it, but it's deeded in your name, that could be in your trust to be distributed how you want it to be. Because that is the one thing that I see when people don't do planning that forces families into probate court, is having a house and not having any planning documents. In California, a $500,000 house that's a low value has to go through probate court. The value in California is for an estate to have to go through probate is $166,250. Okay. So those houses are going through probate unless there is something like a trust in place to be able to prevent that. Okay, a few benefits of having a trust is that it allows you to set up sub-trusts for your children to be dispersed at ages that you choose. So like I said, 25, 30, 35, kind of extending that out. So with that life insurance policy, they're not getting it when they turn 18 through the court system. They get it at these ages you set through the trust. A trust protects your children's inheritance from predators, creditors, and divorce. Or if the surviving spouse gets remarried, we see horror stories, and I'm sure you probably have friends that you've heard this, where spouse passes away and then they get remarried, and then the surviving spouse passes, and then everything goes to that new spouse, and the kids get nothing. And it's not by the intention. I call this an unintentional disinheritance, because it wasn't the intention that the parents would disinherit the kids. It's just they thought that they were, having this life with this new spouse, but they didn't understand what would happen if they passed, that money wouldn't necessarily go to their kids, right? Unless they have it legally planned, like in a trust. When you have a trust, you get to choose who you want to be the trustee. And so those are the people that manage the finances for the trust. It could, if you have minor kids, it could be the guardians for the kids, but it doesn't have to be, which is one feature that I like is, maybe you have guardians that are separate for your kids, and then maybe you have the trustee that's separate, and they act as this check and balance to make sure that the kids are being taken care of. It's also a really great option if there's a divorce, right? Because then you're making sure that, if you don't want, which is oftentimes the way that I see it, is you don't want that ex-spouse having control of the money for your kids, right? You want like your sibling to be it, or your best friend, or your parents, right? You want them to be in control of the money so that they can make sure that it's being used for the benefit of your kids, rather than it going to your ex-spouse, then having it for the benefit of your kids. If you have adult children, you can have adult children listed as the executors for the estate, or the successor trustees, as we usually call them. The other biggest thing, especially when there's minor children or special needs or lifestyle disability, any of those things I talked about, is you can list the trust as a beneficiary on the life insurance policy so that the funds don't go to the kids. They go to the trust. And then it's distributed according to your instructions in the trust. Okay. So anyone that is over the age of 18 needs some type of estate planning. Okay, some type. If they're just, going off to college, it might just be, well, they need advanced healthcare directive, power of attorney, maybe a HIPAA authorization, right? If they're, getting a little bit older, when they buy a house, when they have kids, there's wills, there's trusts, there's something for everyone. But without it, you don't have your wishes legally documented, right? There's nothing in writing that says if something happened to you, what you would want. Okay. Okay. So if you need help getting an estate plan in order, I'm going to post the link here for a free 30-minute telephone consultation. Please make sure to click there, and our team will go over in the consult what our process is, why estate planning is important, and our pricing packages that we have. And then they can work with you to get the next appointment set up with the attorney. Okay, so at this point, I'm going to take questions. And we have a couple minutes left. I do want to be mindful of your time. So if you have any questions, I'm happy to answer those now. If you don't follow me on Instagram, make sure to go follow me, Estate Planning Mom. I have lots of information on there. I talk about life insurance a lot. Just lots of different scenarios and things that I see that come up. I'm going to open it up here for questions. So again, if you have any questions, please make sure to put those in either the chat or the questions and answers, and I will get to those. Thanks for joining, Jim. A lot of times when I'm doing different posts and stuff on Instagram, it's questions that people send in, or kind of just scenarios that I think people need to know about. Just this morning I was driving into work and thinking about life insurance as I was preparing for this. And one of the questions I get sometimes is, well, if I can't list my minor kids as my beneficiaries because maybe they aren't married or they're divorced, whatever the situation is, who do they list? And so sometimes I hear people say, well, I just want to list my sister, or my sibling. And you can absolutely list your sibling because she's going to be guardian for the kids, and she's going to be able to use the money to take care of them. So my issue with that is that it's basically just having your sister listed as the beneficiary, right? There's nothing in writing that says that sister has to use the money for the kids. And I'm not saying that sister's a bad person and that she's not going to, but if sister just gets this beneficiary, this money, and what if she commingles it and puts it in her checking account and then she gets divorced from her husband? Well, now husband gets half, right? Or what if there's a lawsuit and sister gets sued and her money gets taken? Well, that money isn't there for the kids, and it's not in a trust, it's just there in sister. So somebody could come after that money, right? Or what if sister were to pass away? Who knows what that money is to be used for? So there's kind of just these ideas of, that there's lots of different ways to take care of, and there's all these different scenarios that can come about, but it's important to kind of think through, how would that actually work, right? And understanding that and saying, is that actually what I want? Because if that's not what I want, then I need to figure out how to get what I want, right? And that's usually where the trusts come in for us to be able to design the plan that fits your needs for your family, of how to make sure that your family is protected. Okay, I think at this point we are done on time. So thank you so much for joining me. I appreciate you spending the time with me. I hope you learned about, while if you have life insurance, it is important to also have an estate plan. Again, I think they complement each other. And it's, everybody should have some type of plan in place. So if you need any help with that, please make sure to book the free consultation. And as always, please feel free to reach out if you have any other questions. Thank you so much. Have a great day.